Hello, if you hear a foosha foosha kind of noise, that's my dishwasher. How's it going? Today is Monday, and Monday is a fun day because I get to talk about whatever the heck I want. And basically, it's my world building day. It's world building Wednesday on a Monday, I guess. So what's being drawn here right now is from my novel, The Books of Avo. It's getting turned into like a Webtoon-ish kind of thing. But yeah, you can get it in book form right now because it'll be a long time before the free version is out, and it will very slowly release. And if it looks interesting, like, just go for it. So I am going to be talking about some world building like I preambled, and in return you are going to give me comments and likes. It's all about exchange here. So I've been talking about this story for a really long time. It's been dubbed Crow Story for now. I've been going over it weekly, and I have a playlist. So if you are interested in any of this, you can go check out that playlist and get all of the juicy details. However, I will try and make sure that this is at least somewhat understandable for those that are hopping in right now. For those of you that were like intrigued by the thumbnail or the title of this video. So, the long and the short of it is that Crow Story is about a world full of elves and anthros. And everyone exists on a spectrum between elf and anthro, and there's basically 12 different types based on 12 elements that exist. Everyone kind of exists on a spectrum between elf and furry, and the more like an elf you are, the more likely you are to have magical powers, and there are 12 different elements, so therefore there are 12 different elemental powers and 12 different furry types. Animal types you can be, and basically for each element there is a corresponding animal. No one has said they're confused yet, so I'm going to assume that everyone's been able to gather this. This is kind of a continuation of my last video where I talked about the druids, because we have two other provinces to talk about where the druids live. So we've been going one by one through a bunch of provinces and detailing kind of the cultures within them. And last time we talked about a place called Willrock, and we also went over a lot of like the druid customs, because basically the druids, their land is being colonized by this divine kingdom, the divine kingdom of the Lindworm. It's just not been a great time for them. Today we're going to talk about two places. We're going to talk about Nyand, and we're going to talk about Mythfield, and both of them are dominantly druid areas, or at the very least they're like historically druid lands. Nyland. Let's start with Nyland. So the past decade, Barony of Nyland has gone through many changes. Nyland was first obtained, like most of this area was, through bloody conquest. It was very bad, horrible time, and they burned and cleared the forests because it's very dry. They have a very dry seasonal thing going on, and they just like instigated. Do you instigate flames? They just made the burning really bad. They did a lot of like clearing out of the forest and cutting things down and just being generally like awful. And thousands were killed outright because of this, and none were like kept alive because they are all considered to be witches. And being a witch is a huge heckin' crime in the eyes of the Divine Kingdom. So basically, the Divine Kingdom, they believe in this kind of creation story that the world was created by this Lindworm who ate 12 stewards of the elements and blah blah blah. In eating them, it unified the world, and mages have like elemental powers, and it's all good. However, they're not really cool about non-mages using kind of like magical stuff, and they're really not into the idea of worshipping anyone other than the Lindworm. Like, you're not supposed to worship anyone that they would consider one of the stewards. And if you do that, if you worship because you want to get something out of the stewards, and it creates sort of like a magic thing going on, that's considered witchcraft, and it is punishable by death. Yeah, so they did their conquest. They killed all sorts of people. It was a really bad time. None were kept alive, at least in like an official capacity. I mean, some people were just like trafficked or whatever. So that's not good. Very gross, very bad. I do not condone. These are horrible crimes, and we do not stand the Lindworm. We only stand in memes. And so, like, obviously, not everyone died. Just all of the areas that were, like, taken over. And a lot of the druids were able to escape and hide deep in, like, the rainforest areas and within the mangroves. And yeah, so that's where a very large population of druids lived. And they had like their own little like city thing going on. Like it wasn't like it was pretty legit civilization. Not that like if you don't live in cities you're not legit. Just I don't know. It's not like little forest villages. Like it was like a substantial heckin' city that existed within the rainforest that they were living in. And during this time, there was a magical seal that was revealed, and not like an arf arf kind of seal. There are like magical sigils that exist, and everyone basically has one kind of associated with them, but there's these really rare ones that are recognized within the Divine Kingdom as being blood twins, and like you are connected with a divine elf. I'm doing a horrible job at explaining this, but basically it's a super powerful magical seal, and it was revealed to exist in a druid girl that was living in the rainforest city. The druids, they see this special seal as being very important because, as we talked in the last video, this seal represents their god, Hasha Hasha. Hasha Hasha chooses a mortal, not immortal, a mortal to be her chosen child, and that is Hasha Dreli, is what her chosen child is called. So the seal was revealed, Hasha Dreli became a thing, and the druids were having a great time with it. They were really happy because they had this super powerful mage in their midst, and she's also like incredibly important for their religion, and so they celebrated her and they were worshiping her. They were just having a great time, and they were readying for like all of these very like important like ceremonies and such. And while they were having their celebrations, something horrible happened. So Lord Nyand, he ended up savaging the community, and he did this with the help of Kitath. And Kitath is a lady, and she is a very rare and powerful mage, a very powerful mage of Rue. So she is a lich, basically. So she has curse magic, and that's magic centered around torture and pain. So, you know, she's fun at parties. I didn't say that with it in mind that she's going to show up at this party and ruin it. That was accidental. Anyways, so what Kitath did was Kitath enchanted an oil. She got it poured into the ceremonial oils that the city was going to use for their like religious celebration. And so she did this, and the city then, like everyone celebrating this heckin' amazing cutie little mage that is powerful, amazing. And there's a lot of like customs of like mixing ash and oil to make kind of like a paint, and with that paint you do like little sigils, and most importantly you rub it on your little hands to like blacken them, because all druids are sylvan, which means they're like fox people, and the little black peats, the little black fox peats are very important. Everyone used this sacred oil that was like blessed by the new chosen one, and it was also cursed by Kitath. And when they used all of that paint, the oils like seeped into their skin, and then like the entire village, like thousands of people, they developed like this horrible, horrific pain overnight, and they were all incapacitated by this. Then in the night, the Lord of Nightfall and his people showed up to everyone who is very incapacitated. And if they weren't incapacitated, they were easily overwhelmed because so many people were cursed. So they showed up and they emptied the city. So the Baron of Nyland, he oversaw the execution of like every last druid in the city. So very horrible thing happened here. All of like their valuables were taken from them, and they were taken 20 kilometers away to the coast. So like they all were taken to the coast, and like one by one they went to Ketath, and she released them from their curse, and then they were handed off, and they were like instructed to praise the Lindworm. Lindward Kingdom, we do not stand. So they praised the Lindworm, and then they had their tongues stabbed, or like under their chin stabbed to, you know, tear up the tongue. And that's so that their last words would be praise to the Lindworm. Then they had their tails cut off, and they were pushed off a cliff. And they did this one by one. And most of them understood what was happening as they like approached Ketath, and after following for a while they figured out what was going on. But they could see that Ketath was undoing the curse, and the curse was just so awful, and everyone was just so desperate for it to end that they went with it. And yeah, terrible, awful, like really awful. And like the thing is, like, they praised the Lindworm, but like they really didn't like understand like any word that they were saying, because they don't really speak Elvish. They speak a druid language, and so they just like copied the words. And those that like didn't say the words mostly were doing it because they were like confused, they didn't know what was going on, and nonetheless they were like punished for not being good to the Lindworm. Meanwhile, the girl Drelly, she was taken instead, and because she's like considered one of like the blood twins that is important to the divine kingdom, and she was taken north to Willrock, and she is now like betrothed to the son of Lord Willrock, because the son of Lord Willrock shares her seal, so he's the other half. He's her blood twin, but not like blood twin as in they're related. It's like a blood magic connection thing. During this horrific time, there were some people that did escape. They did so with like a horrible pain. They did despite that, and they made their way to like neighboring peoples to like warn them about what was going on. They did this while like Ketath's curse was still pretty incapacitating them, and they just like they didn't buy that Ketath was actually going to uncurse everybody, because basically when Ketath like showed up, she like uncursed Drelly, and that like made it clear that she could undo that. So they kind of followed partially on the pretense that she was going to heal them, even though, you know, sussy to say the least. And so the ones that did escape, they were really hopeful that their curse would be undone, but instead, like after like they told their stories, or like when many months would go by and like they really didn't have any hope, they were like all eventually just kind of like their lives were like peacefully ended. The thing is that like the curse that afflicted them, this like curse mage, they never really interacted with like cursed magic at all, because all curse mages basically live on this little island, and very rarely do they ever appear on the mainland, and rarer still would it be for them to actually reach where the druids were. So they had like no understanding of the magic and no idea like where to even start in like stopping it. So it was very bad. And when the word of like these atrocities like spread, powerful mages were then escorted to safety, where they could begin to like work on a spell to fight back against the kingdom of the Lindworm. And this is what led to the Plague of Lilies. And if you have been following, you should know about the Plague of Lilies. The Plague of Lilies was meant to attack only the divine elves, and it basically is like a bunch of flowers that like kill people. Like you're like infected with flowers and they kill you. slowly, excruciatingly awful time. But yeah, it was only meant to affect divine elves because those were the ones that were like attacking them. Instead, it ended up being way more potent than that. It spread ridiculously far, and it killed a lot of people. A lot of just like innocent like hearth elves especially died because of this. Also, on a positive note, the Baron of Nyland, he also died. He suffered a horrible, long, painful death, and all his family did. Well, nearly all of his family did. There is like one single person in his family that is left, and that is Lady Petra of Nyland. She is his niece, and Petra has like little interest in being a baroness, and like she's in control of Nyland now, and she's really like just kind of allowed druids to come back into their land. She just doesn't care all that much, and she relies very heavily on her lady-in-waiting, Lady Gwen, to tell her what to do, because she's just really not into it, never expected to have to like run a province. So I guess that kind of leads us to Mythfield. Mythfield is basically a territory. It's considered a territory by the Divine Kingdom, and they claim it. However, Mythfield basically defines like all the regions that the Divine Kingdom has not set foot in within the Druid lands. So this is like untouched Druid lands. It's 100% theirs. The Divine Kingdom has absolutely no claim whatsoever to this land, but if you look at a map, that is Mythfield, and it belongs to the Divine Kingdom apparently. The druids there remain very formidable. Like there's even more cities and stuff that exist within there, along with like very powerful like nomadic groups, and you know there's lots of different druid cultures. It's not like a monolith, right? The mages that ended up escaping from Nyland and escaping from the approach of the Divine Kingdom, they ended up in Mythfield in its like furthest areas where they were kept safe, and that's where the Plague of Lilies ended up being developed, was within the most north regions of Mythfield. They're formidable, but they still live in a pretty constant fear. So like Hashadreli, their chosen one, like she remains captive, and the curse mage Ketath, who like wiped out the whole city with like a single spell. They don't know what happened to her, if they still have her. She hasn't like shown up since. So like, because the thing with Ketath is like she's not like a free person at all. Like she is just like owned by the kingdom. She's just doing what she's doing, right? The people in Mythfield, they're like struggling against time to try and figure out a defense against like the possibility that curse magic like befalls them again. They have a few plans. Their first plan is involving Petra, as we talked about. So there's a plan among the old witches, because it's been noted that Petra is really kind of not into it, like not into the Divine Kingdom stuff. It was also noted that she's really disgusted by furs, like she's just uncomfortable with wearing furs in druid culture, specifically wearing like the furs of like carnivores, so like, you know, like foxes, bears, etc. I know bears are like omnivores, but you get me. Regardless, it's been noted that she's just really not into that. So they think that maybe there is something there. Within druid lore, divine elves are basically the worshippers of this snake called Lajagan. One of the things that happened with Lajagan and its people is that they're all like deer people, but they eventually began like eating deer despite this. Like they're just like, they went against their nature, and they just, you know, like not everything is cut and dry, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So they think that maybe it's something like not cut and dry when it comes to Petra, where like maybe she has been like accepted by the goddess Hasha. So the plan, all of this comes back to the plan. So the plan is to capture Lady Petra, and they're going to capture her and make her do an important druid ritual that girls of her age do, where she will be turned into an animal by witchcraft, and she will have to like go on like a coming of age journey where she finds a tree that's willing to share a name with her, and also they're gonna find out like if Hasha like accepts her basically, and if not, it's still good to capture her because it seems kind of simple, and you know, bargaining chips are good. So yeah, the hope is that even the elves of Lajagan can actually be good, at least some of them, possibly. And in capturing Petra, they're gonna see if Hasha says that this is true or not. So that's one plan. The second plan is to make an alliance with the merfolk. There's like these powerful mer people, mermaids if you will, and they've been spotted in the waters, and they have like the power to stop boats from sailing too far, and they are just like very powerful. They've got a bunch of powerful spells that they've received from the sea elves, and some believe like if they're able to get on with the merfolk, like maybe they could offer something that would be able to like help them take back Will Rock from the Lindworm. Possible. It's an idea. The merfolk are difficult to communicate with, but you know, that's one idea. And like the final idea is they want to rescue Hasha Drelly. So they really want to rescue their chosen one because she's a super powerful mage and probably she could help them, but it's difficult. Some think that like no matter what, they need to save Hasha Drelly. Like they think that if they do not save her, she is like the daughter of their god, basically, in a way. And like if Hasha is too upset and distraught over her daughter being missing, being like stolen, there might not be a chance to have anything good happen for the druid people. And so like without getting her back to safety, like no other plan is going to work. And like they're never going to be able to figure out any sort of counter to this curse magic that they've had to deal with. Yeah, so that's where the druids are at. I think we talked about all of them. I will mention, however, that within Nyland and Mythfield, it isn't entirely druid. I kind of skimmed over it, but in Nyland especially, because it was taken over in the way that it was, a lot of people have moved in there. It's not a lot of Lindworm people because like followers of like the Lindworm orthodoxy are much further in the east. They haven't spread out. So like a lot of people who were already in the area moved into these lands, a lot more tolerated like people by the orthodoxy. So there's people who follow like ancient hearth traditions, and there are also some who follow what is called Hazalian faith, and I've talked about it before, but both of those are more tolerated by the Lindworm kingdom, and they therefore kind of live within Nyland instead of all of the druids that used to have, you know, lives there that were, you know, important and stuff. Okay, so before I head off, no, heck it, I'm heading off. I want to say this is a short one, but like, it's not that short, honestly. I've just gotten progressively longer with these, so thank you for listening. Again, I love comments. I'm sorry this one was so horrible. I feel really bad, but I also don't, because I'm a writer and I just like to write bad things and conflict and stuff, right? That's just part of being a writer. It's just making horrible situations for imaginary people. Yeah, so please like, comment, subscribe, throw little hearts in the comment section because I always love those, and I'll send you a heart right back. And yeah, all right, see you next Monday. Ta-ta. Ta-ta. Okay, whatever.